What is up, everybody? Great topic today. Over the years of rehabbing houses, being a contractor, having rentals, it has always been a struggle finding great contractors to help with fix and flips, buy and holds. And I'm sure if you're listening to this, you have experienced the same thing, how frustrating it is to have a revolving door of contractors and suppliers, and it's just always an uphill battle. Wouldn't it be great if at least one segment of those trades, flooring, for example, could be covered by someone who is competent, honest, fair priced, reliable, all those things that we look for? Let me talk about that today. So, my good friend Clayton Carr from Floor Coverings International is here. Clayton, thank you so much for doing this with me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Mike. I really appreciate it.
All right. So, and you guys could take a guess what Clayton does. Floor Coverings International. He's a flooring guy, and we're going to talk a lot about a series called Community Spotlight, where we feature local businesses. And a lot of times, these business owners and salespeople, managers are just dropping gold nuggets on us, giving us information for free on their dime, their time, and they come here and just give us such awesome information, teaching mode. And of course, these are businesses that we've worked with and we highly recommend. So if you don't want to miss more in this series, please smash that subscribe button. And you can always message me directly, Mike@21mike.com. Now, obviously, Clay, we are going to drop your contact information, website, all that. I understand you're shifting from Floor Coverings International, which is kind of a lengthy name, to FCI, which is pretty
Yes.
cool. But let's do this. I want you to talk. Tell me, first of all, a little bit about you. What's the story of, in a few words, Clayton Carr?
Yeah, so I had a lot of background in electronics manufacturing. I did that for 15 years, mostly in management. And when I got out of that, I was looking for kind of a new career and new beginning. And around that time, I had a really bad experience with an in-home sales guy. And I thought, you know what, it'd be really nice if I could go out there and be the opposite of that for people and make people feel comfortable and give them honest advice and worry less about the sale and more about solving people's issues and give them the right product for their situation. So
You said a couple words there that I want to reiterate: in-home sales.
yes.
Whenever, the hair on the back of my neck stands up when I hear those words, because I think of the old tin man, the old tin men, those guys that sell siding and flooring and whatever, and they come in your house and it's the high pressure.
Yeah.
They want to sell you the Cadillac when maybe all you need is the Chevy. They
Yeah.
don't really care about your needs. They're more interested in making a sale. I mean, that's huge. I mean, and so to be clear, obviously you've had that same experience, and now that's
Yeah.
what you do. You're the, hey, I'm here to inform and educate and help
Yeah.
figure out what's good for you, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm way more interested in of course I want to take care of you, but I would rather give you the correct information and not get your sale than to give you the wrong information and sell you something you don't need or that's gonna, not be the right solution for your home. Yeah.
So you've had you had the bad experience. Now fast forward to FCI, and tell us about that company and why they're different.
Yeah, so obviously it's great for everybody if we can make a deal in the home, but we don't pressure you to do that. If you're not comfortable or you haven't found something that you love for your home, a color or the product's not quite right, we carry like 3,000 samples in our van, and that's not everything we carry. So there's more stuff at the shop. We can get our hands on just about anything in the on the market. So, we just want to make sure that you love, I mean, people are spending sometimes $15, $20, $25,000 on flooring, depending on the size of their home and how much space they're doing. And if you don't love that floor when it's all said and done, then why'd you spend the money? And we are way more focused on what's going to hold up in your home and what are you going to love after you spend your money.
Yeah, and I know another big difference, and you mentioned it briefly. You mentioned the van. So
Yeah.
I think it also says mobile showroom,
Yeah.
correct?
That's
Yeah,
correct.
that's
So
I
yeah. So we bring the showroom right to your house. And, one of the complaints we get from some of our competitors is that well, they came in and measured, and then I had to go to the shop to look at the samples, and I had to pick well, they have these LED lights in there, and they're perfect lighting, and you get to your house and you have these yellow lights or whatever, or fluorescent lights, and it just looks completely different. And I hear all the time, man, it looked great in the showroom and I got it installed and it looks like garbage in my house. And it's like, okay, so you just spent a bunch of money on what looked good in the showroom, so
Yeah,
so yeah,
I
we
can
bring
tell you.
it right to you so that we can move. A lot of people move it around the house, they turn lights on and off, they open and close
Mhm.
shades. Sometimes it's 3 or 4 appointments. It's not, like I said, we don't pressure you to close in the home. And sometimes you go on a sunny day and then you go on a rainy day, and it just happens that way. And sometimes it's later in the evening after work, and you can see all the different lighting in your home and all that kind of stuff.
So from personal experience, I could tell you that's exactly what mostly my wife does, but she's at the store, she's grabbing all these boards, we got to take them home, she's got to move them around, then she's got to go back to the store, and it's such a hassle. So, I mean, that alone is a huge value and a big difference. I mean, I don't know anyone else who has as many samples as you guys do on the van. So, let's clarify for a second. I'm still learning about everything that you do,
Sure.
apart from, the things that we would expect. Tell me what kind of flooring you guys do. I mean, it's pretty much everything, right?
Yeah, we do pretty much everything. I'd say the only thing I can think of that we don't do are like epoxy coating. So a lot of people do like the stone looks with epoxy mix and things like that, or polished concrete, things like that. But we do carpet, luxury vinyl plank, laminate, hardwood, engineered hardwood. We do sand and finish. We even have some higher end products, like we have some wool carpets, um, uh, some cork flooring, and then if you have a home gym, we actually have that rubber material that you put in the home gyms as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
So you furnish and install, and I know from personal experience here, and again, I know we've talked a little bit about my experience as a contractor, rehabber. I ran commercial jobs. The frustrations are real when you hire someone to do a job or when you buy material. The question is always, okay, great, I'm dealing with you, but who's actually going to come to my house? And
right.
one of the things that really impressed me about the way you guys operate is you have the same crews. It's
Yes,
not like just like you're going to Home Depot and saying, hey, do you install flooring? It's like you actually have the
exactly.
same guys who've been with you for a long time. Talk about your installers.
Yeah, so our location has been open for about 10 years, and all of our install crews have been with us for longer than 6. So we know our guys, we know their families. Joe and Shelly, the owners of the location, have invited them over for holidays or cookouts or whatever. So we're real familiar with our team and who they are and what they're all about. And on top of that, the reason they've stuck around with us for so long is because we found guys that are good at what they do, and we pay them appropriately for the job that they do, rather than a lot of companies. The install portion is the highest cost of the job, so that's where they try to save the money, and they don't pay their guys as well, and that's why you end up with this revolving door of installers, or just people off the street that say, "Hey, I installed my dad's LVP in his basement once. Can I get a job?" We stay away from that, and we try to find crews that are good, and then we pay them well so that they stick around and we don't end up with this issue.
Okay, so you mentioned there's a couple things I want to get to. I want to make a list of the types of flooring that you do install because I kind of glossed over that. But before we talk about that, let's talk about location. So you
Yeah,
guys are located in Mentor, but this is a national company, right? And it's a
yeah,
franchise, so you're not dealing with some like corporate bureaucracy like a big box store where you're going to get lost in the shuffle. Like you mentioned the owners, Joe and Shelley. You can
correct.
talk to the owners. You guys are located in Mentor. You could pretty much cover Northeast Ohio, but you can serve clients with needs. Hey, I own a property in, such and such Florida. There's
Yeah.
probably an FCI down there. So talk about that, the way the company is and your reviews. I know that's a huge thing too.
Oh yeah, sure. So we actually have over 200 locations now. So we're actually multinational now. So we have a few in Canada. And you can find all of our locations on the website at floorcoveringsinternational.com. Um, but yeah, uh, so we're in Mineral, Ohio, but if you have a client or you have a home somewhere else, you can still reach out to me and I can get you in touch with the owners or a sales guy at those other locations. And then as far as the reviews, our location here in Mineral, Ohio, we have 175 reviews and we average 5 out of 5 stars. So when you look at our Google review, it says 5 out of 5. And that's after 10 years of business. And I'll tell you, in a world where people can write anything about anybody, I did some work at my house a couple months ago, and I was looking at reviews for one of the companies I was thinking about doing business with, and there was a 1-star review from a lady who said that their driver cut her off in traffic, and if that's the kind of people they hire, I would recommend not doing business with them.
Wow.
It's like, so you didn't call the company, you didn't do business with the company, they didn't do work for you, but you got a 1-star review. So even in a world where that can happen, we still have a 5 out of 5 stars on Google ratings. And Mike, if you average all 200 of our locations and average their reviews on Google, we average 4.8 out of 5 stars.
That's incredible. And if I'm not mistaken, your company, the parent company, Floor Coverings International, requires that you have good reviews or you
Yes.
can't be a franchise, correct?
Yes. So the company is actually owned by another company called First Service Brands. And First Service Brands was started by a couple of guys who used to work for companies where profit was the #1 focus. Now, profit's important for every business because that's how you grow and that's how you pay people and all this kind of stuff, right? So, but they wanted to start businesses where customer service was the #1 focus. And the way they do that is they require us to maintain a certain level of customer satisfaction. And if Mineral, Ohio was the highest profitable company out of all 200, but we didn't meet that threshold, they would still kick us out of the brand and not let us do business as Floor Coverings International. So it is the highest metric that we look at. And I just got back last month from our convention where everybody there was like 700 people there, and the CEO spoke and everything. It was really interesting because coming from the corporate world in manufacturing where everything was about cost, the whole week was talking about how we're serving our customers from the highest level. The only time we talked about sales was when we were giving awards for the best performing locations, and everything else was how are we taking care of the customers and how are we solving their problems.
I love it. I love it. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons we connected on a deep level is because, of course, our real estate team is the same way. Our over 100 reviews and thousands of sales. You're always going to have someone who's unhappy with you, and the same with us. You can't find a bad review on the 21 Mike team, which, of course, I'm very proud of too. And
Sure.
it's because as a company, each of us leads with that. If the most important, it's what you make important is what happens. So, leading with customer service, everything else follows. Everything else follows. So I'm glad we got to talk about that, and I just got goosebumps a little bit talking about that. So let's talk about the types of flooring. So let's shift back to the actual flooring. We're talking about big picture here stuff, but tell me about like typically most of the flooring that you sell, and then I want to change gears and talk a little bit about like the quality of flooring. So like you're not just for high-end homeowners, you
Correct.
can work. I mean, not that you're going to be the cheapest guy in town, but you can also work with investors and rentals and stuff too. So
Yep.
tell me about the types of flooring.
Yeah, so we have a very, very wide range of products, and I'll tell you, a lot of my bigger competitors have this buy today, install tomorrow, or things similar to that. And what that is you have to buy what they have in stock, so it really limits what your options are. And with us, we custom order every single job. So when you buy from us, Mike, we order exactly what we need for your job at that moment. So when it comes off the truck, your name is already on it. So we get a fresh order every time, and it's not been sitting in the warehouse and all this kind of stuff, right? So we do have a wide selection. So we have like carpet, for example. We have everything from something that I would put into like some short-term rentals and things like that, where you're going to be changing carpet a lot, all the way up to I have products that are actually have a waterproof backing. So if you it's pet proof. So if your dog tinkles on it or whatever, it's not going to soak into the pad. That way, when you get the stain out, you don't end up with the wicking back up and the restain, and then you can get the smell out and all that kind of stuff. And then even above that, like I mentioned, the wool carpet, that's a very, very high end carpet that we do in some of our high end clients sometimes. So every single category, like luxury vinyl plank, laminate, hardwood, we have a very wide range of all of those things. And even things that we don't have in the van or in the shop, we can get our hands on. So if you wanted like, a particular type of wood or a certain cut of wood, like quarter sawn or something like that, we can reach out directly to our manufacturers and to our mills and find a way to get our hands on that for you.
Very good. So the other thing I want to make sure I hit on is kind of back to the problem solving and the quality of the installers. I know that, for example, when you buy flooring from the box stores, um, they say, here's our price, here's the installation price, and you're like, wow, that's awesome. And then of course they come out to do the job. Oh, well, we didn't realize that you had plywood or concrete or this
Yeah.
condition, or the wall floors needed to be skimmed. It's just a very generic, not all inclusive quote. And it's, I don't want to use the word deceptive, but incomplete. Let's just call it that, because I don't think they're purposely trying to deceive people. But the difference between that experience and what you do is night and day. So I know you have a bunch of stories about this where, oh, so and so said I could do this and this, and then you come in and say, look, I don't recommend that, and here's why. So, talk about that process, that process of coming in and really diagnosing the best install, and maybe even share a story with us.
Yeah. So kind of part of what you're talking about is um, there's kind of two things. Like one is what we call ballpark pricing, where a company would come in and they'll measure and they'll say, they won't even show you a product and they'll say, oh, it's $5,000. You're like, oh, that sounds really good. And then you sign up, you get the job done, and then you didn't realize that the paper you signed had a bunch of fine print that, well, that doesn't include trim, and that doesn't include the pad under the carpet, and that doesn't include whatever. Like, so now you end up with all these checklists, and you end up with $1,000 or $1,500 more that they're trying to collect after the project's done. And it's in the fine print, and you signed it, so you're on the hook for it. So we really delve in and we spend time in your home. Appointments usually take around 60 to 90 minutes, sometimes longer. I've been in homes for 3 hours before. But we really dive in, and now the customer wanted me there for 3 hours. I didn't just stick around. But she was having difficulty finding a color that she liked. So I didn't have another appointment after, so I just stuck around and really worked with her. But the point is, we take the 60 to 90 minutes so that we can really evaluate all of those spaces and make sure that we're giving you a complete price down to the penny, including taxes and everything. So the price I give you in the home is exactly what you're going to pay when the job is done. I hate to admit this, but I've screwed up a couple of jobs before where I missed something, and we didn't go back to the customer and say, hey, Clayton missed this, and you owe us another $800. Now there are situations where you might pull up some flooring and you learn something like, oh, there's no way I could have known that with, the subfloor is damaged. There's no way I could have known that before we ripped out the carpet or whatever. Those are different scenarios. It's not something I missed. It's just something unforeseen that you couldn't possibly have known
Sure.
at the time, right?
Because your x-ray vision wasn't working on that day.
Exactly. I didn't eat my carrots that morning, right? And then I missed.
Part two is, the whole diagnosing things, and
Oh,
someone
yeah.
coming in and say, oh, we can do this, and then you come in after them and say, look, I don't recommend doing this, and you've actually saved people from making huge mistakes or putting in the wrong product,
Yep.
that type of thing.
Yeah, I see all the time. Some of my competitors are really trying to put hardwood on, like, directly on cement, and that's a big no-no in flooring. And the thermodynamics between the two causes condensation between the layers, and then that condensation just soaks right into the wood and it causes it to expand, and then it'll tent up on you. And I probably had four last year where I walked into the house and all the wood's tinted up, and they spent $20,000 on this hardwood, and 6 months down the road they have a problem. And what I'm hearing a lot is, well, the company said that it could be a problem, but they had this special glue that guaranteed that it wouldn't happen. Well, then it happened, and then you call the company and say, hey, the thing you said wouldn't happen happened. Come and fix it. And they say, well, we warned you that this could be an issue, and we're not gonna honor a warranty on it, right? So then here I am redoing the flooring that you already did. And not only that, but you got used to having this nice hardwood floor, and we can't do hardwood floor. So now you're changing the flooring because that's not the appropriate product for your home. So it's really a bad situation. And then sometimes, I had a lady that her retirement dream was to buy a 100-year-old home and rehab it and live there for the rest of her life. And she bought this property, and she had really nice hardwood floors. The dining room had this intricate design with the hardwood and everything, and she wanted to have it sanded and refinished, which we do. But previous workers or whoever owned the house before dumped a bunch of paint on the floor, and there's like this self leveler all over the place. And not that couldn't be salvaged at some point, but it was so cost prohibitive for her that it just wasn't doable. And the lady literally started crying in the appointment that we couldn't do what she wanted to do. And I said, look, let me get my measurements done. Go outside, take a breath. She was a smoker. I said, go have a cigarette, just take it in. And when I get all my measurements done, we'll revisit it and we'll come up with a plan that'll make the house look great. And because it was an old home, the flooring was kind of unlevel to a point where we couldn't do a floating floor either. So we were able to put some really nice glue down LVP in, and man, does it look spectacular. That's one of the before and after photos that I posted on Facebook that you shared on your page as well, Mike. And once we got done with that appointment and had a plan, and she was confident, we were actually laughing together on the way out the door. So we turned her tears into a smile, and it was a good time.
Remember when I was crying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, speaking of that, I do want to mention, from the first time I met you, we just meshed, and, I don't really have a lot of floor guys to recommend. And so right here in my neighborhood, you've already taken care of, I think, 3 different neighbors, and
Yeah.
they all said the same thing. So this is my chance to give a testimonial for you on this little community spotlight.
Yeah.
These are all older folks, people who don't want the high pressure sales. Here's what they told me. They said, he came in, gave me options, so many choices, helped me pick, helped me figure out the right installation method and products, and the whole process was so smooth and easy. Now, the reason I say that is because it's not uncommon to have contractor horror stories.
Yes.
It's never simple. There's always a glitch, and not that anyone's perfect, but when it's the quality of the professionals that you're dealing with that makes all the difference.
Yeah.
If you're using the guy in the rusty pickup truck who, like you said, installed his mom's luxury vinyl plank in the basement one time, what are you
Exactly.
going to get? It's funny. We have a client who is a big corporate client rehabbing hundreds of houses a year. And I have pictures online of some vinyl plank flooring they installed, and the seams are all lined up.
Yep.
They're supposed to be staggered, right? And
Yep.
it's like rookie mistake. How did this corporate client hire someone who was so inept?
Yeah.
Now that's a basic mistake. I know that you've probably torn that stuff out.
Yep.
Um, but anyway, I just want to take a second to give that testimonial and let people know, like, this isn't just some random guy. We're in our networking group together, and I've known Clayton now for, it's got to be getting close to a year now, I would think. think, or
Pretty
maybe
close.
over a
Yep.
year. Yeah.
Pretty close.
So, listen, you've given a lot of information. I'm sure there's one or two things we haven't covered. Do you have anything else? Any other bits of wisdom you want to impart, or any other kind of final thoughts about using your company and what that experience is going to be like?
No, I think that, you know, doing this for a living. So I used to be the 3 quote guy, right? I got 3 quotes for every project, and if you were the first guy in, there's nothing you could say to me that's going to get me to sign on the dotted line. I've got to get my 3 quotes. And I've really shifted my priorities to, I do all of my research up front, and I find companies that I want to do business with. So I've looked at their reviews, I've looked at their reputation, I see what they do in the communities and things like that. That way, if the first guy comes in and they have a product and a price that works for me, I know I'm ready to move forward because I've already done my research, right? And I think that's, a lot of people, we grew up with that mentality a lot from our parents of, because of those kind of sales tactics that are kind of shady, I guess, is you want to get 3 quotes because you might learn something from somebody else, or someone might be ripping you off, or whatever the case is. But if you do your research and you find a company that's actually reputable and not just advertises everywhere, because there's a lot of companies that say they spend a lot of money on advertising and they promote themselves as the industry leaders, but then you go on Google and you see they have a 2.6 review, and it's like, okay, well, just because I see them all the time doesn't make them the expert, right?
Yeah.
So that would be my advice. And again, not that we're going to pressure you to buy in the home, but doing your research ahead of time would make you feel a lot more comfortable that the company that's coming into your home and helping you is a company that you're ready to do business with.
Yeah, and speaking of price, we know we're dealing with a high quality company with whatever products you're recommending. I used to be the cheapest quote guy, and over the
Yeah.
years I've learned that. And the example that I always like to use is blender. So now that I have a Vitamix blender, like, I will never buy the $39 or $29 blender ever again. I will throw away like 3 of those before, my Vitamix ever dies. And it's the
Yeah.
same thing. It's the same thing with real estate agents and teams,
Yeah.
contractors. The cheapest is not always the best. I mean, there's a reason why some people are buying Land Rovers and Mercedes, Teslas. You're getting just a different quality of product.
Yeah.
My wife and I just bought a refrigerator, and it's like, we spent a lot of money on the refrigerator, but it's because it had the features and the quality that we wanted.
Exactly.
So I guess what I'm trying to say here in a roundabout way is, you may or may not be the lowest price, but the guarantee is that you stand behind your products, your installation, and you're going to give people the right advice. You're not going to install hardwood over concrete and then a year from now say, yeah, that
Yeah.
sorry, we told
So
you the wrong thing.
so our promise to our customers is that we will be the best experience in flooring in North America. That's the promise, and that goes all the way from the setup call, the call that we give you before your appointment, all the way through the install and the aftercare and beyond, right? So our goal isn't to be the cheapest or the fastest install or anything like that. Our goal is to be the best experience overall from start to finish in flooring.
I love that. I love that. So obviously, we haven't really talked about your contact information. It's going to be below in the description, and it'll be flashed on the screen. But let's talk about that real quick. Let's say that someone is watching this and says, "Hey, I have a flooring project. I'm going to give this guy a shot." What's the best way to get in touch with you?
So you can call me directly at 330-957-8010. That's my personal cell phone number. Or you can reach me at clayton.carr@fcifloors.com.
Awesome. Clay, I just can't thank you enough for doing this. I know we've been planning this for a while, but I'm so glad you got to come on here and talk about what you do, because I'm a believer, and that's why you're here. I don't just do community spotlights with anyone. It's always products and locations that we've used that we believe in. So really appreciate it. And if we can, do some more business together, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I really appreciate you having me on, Mike. Thank you.
So don't forget, guys, hit that subscribe button. And if you need me, it's Mike at 21mike.com.